When one island full of dinosaurs goes awry, it's time for iGen to hit up the second island full of dinosaurs to attempt to save the prehistoric theme park business before it goes extinct. But this time, Ian Malcolm does not plan on taking on iGen laying down, with his shirt wide open, chest glistening in the moonlight. No, this time it's a family affair.
Are you trying to make us break in the background?
Glistening chest, a family affair. Okay.
Oh man,
I don't know. I'm just writing what I see, you know.
So I'm going to give a little bit of a spoiler. Last time Dan came in with his 100 score and we tried to pick it apart. I'm going to come in and tell you guys something. I had a lot of fun watching this movie.
Nice.
It's going to get a low score from me.
Yes,
but
it
I
is.
actually had a lot of fun watching the movie. So
I think that's what this movie is. I
think it is, right? Like, just go in with low expectations, turn your brain off, and enjoy.
Yeah, I think
I thought
so.
you were going to give us the score on that one. I thought you were going to go full Dan. You don't have to. I'm just saying.
Nah, my score. Well, and two, I think my score is going to fluctuate a little bit because I kind of want to like tease some things out and ask questions about what you guys thought about certain aspects of it. Like, for one, the plot.
Okay, so here's the thing. So I was watching this, and like, you're not wrong. This movie is nowhere near as good as the first one, but it's definitely. No, I shouldn't say definitely. I haven't seen them in a long time. I'm pretty confident this is still my second favorite Jurassic Park. Like, I still think it's a lot better than what's coming. That said, this movie's all over the place. If the movie had just been Julianne Moore wanting to document the dinosaurs and they go on the rescue expedition to get her, and it had been fairly small, like just like the four of them, I get that doesn't leave you a whole lot of people getting eaten. But like, that could have been a really cool movie. Just like the four of them wandering around the island trying to stay like hidden and document the dinosaurs. Honestly, I would have been relatively okay with that. And then we get the Hasbro commercial and it's like, oh, all right, never mind. This is gonna be a totally different movie.
I think Spielberg wanted to have fun, and I think he knew what he was doing here. I think he was like, oh, everybody loved this movie. Let's just give them more of what we think they love. And it kind of just diminished the whole awe and wonderment and excitement of dinosaurs in real life are awesome.
Yeah. They got rid of a lot of the majesty, like a lot of the awe, and it just like they got rid of the awe and just left us with shock.
They kind of even make the joke. He's like, oh yes, and then they're screaming and running, you know.
Ooh, that's how it always starts. But then later there's running and screaming.
Now, what did you think about the characters in this movie? Because they did keep Dr. Malcolm and I guess Hammond, but pretty much everybody else is brand new in this one. Did you like Vince Vaughn, Richard Schiff, Julianne Moore, Pete Postlethwaite? Did this crew do it for you as well? Because I think we all pretty much unanimously liked the crew in the first Jurassic.
Yeah, remember when I said the character development in the first one was a little rough? I feel like this movie double downs in all the wrong ways. So everything that was wrong with the first one, this one just doubled down on those wrongities. And a lot of the characters are pretty rough. I didn't mind. Actually, I think maybe one of my favorite characters in this movie was Roland, the main hunter guy.
Okay.
Yeah. He at least had a reason for being there and a purpose. And you could see his through line.
Yeah.
Whereas most other characters are pretty surface level.
I don't agree with his reason to be there, but I understand that people like him exist in the world.
Exactly.
Like he felt, for what he was, pretty realistic. Whereas a lot of the other like villains in this movie felt mustache twirly, like they were just there to be villains, and you're just like, okay, like there's no humanity in you whatsoever. Cool. All right.
I kind of feel like this movie was they weren't even trying. They're like, people are here for the dinosaurs. Let's just give them the dinosaurs. Let's just do some scary, fun stuff. Try some different adventurous things, and we're going to turn the volume up on everything. We're going to give you 2 Tyrannosaurus Rexes. We're going to have the Velociraptor sequence where they're really flying at you. We're going to have a dinosaur running down Main Street with the Unical 76 ball rolling down the street. We're just going to do some crazy, crazy stuff. Who cares if it makes sense? We don't need a plot line. All we need is these characters to get in there and do amazing things with dinosaurs, and that's what they did. I would say that as far as the characters went, they were all like all replaceable. You could have interchanged any one of those actors or actresses with somebody else. Wouldn't have made a difference. Did they do a pretty good job? Yeah, they did. Even the little girl did okay. She was terrible at being scared. She was terrible at being scared.
Well done, Kelly. Well done. You did it.
But you know what?
She broke the curse.
She was playing a role that I felt like this little girl understood and played well. Like when she's sitting in the chair talking to her dad at the beginning and she's playing this like, you know, disengaged preteen girl. She did an amazing job in those sequences and I really believed her and she just nailed it. And then
just like she nailed that velociraptor through the window.
Right.
Gymnastics kill people.
Okay, here's the thing. She mentions that she was cut from the gymnastics team. She does this incredibly over-the-top gymnastics acrobatics act, knocking a 300-pound dinosaur out the window without missing a beat and sticks the landing. And then her dad looks at her and goes, "They cut you from the gymnastics team?" Like, they knew this was such BS. They knew this was ridiculous, and they gave Malcolm that line to let the audience know, yeah, we're just having fun here.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
You know?
So I think the two plot holes in the first Jurassic Park that I mentioned, that you guys mentioned, sorry, was the Tyrannosaurus paddock and the Tyrannosaurus coming into the building at the very end. And at both of those, I was like, it just made the movie more fun. Like there were small little things that made the movie more fun. This movie, it felt like they threw the plot out and they were just like, let's just make it fun. And they didn't really think about pretty much anything the entire time. Like there's so many things that I have
100%.
questions about where it's like, I don't understand what we're looking at right now, even like just really weird choices they made. For one, and I understand they don't want to kill a little girl, but at the very beginning of the movie, it starts off with this like rich British family just like camping on the front of the island with their incredible gourmet service. And like, it's just ludicrous. And a little girl goes running off and gets attacked by this Compassaurus. And we find out that she's fine. Like she survived that encounter.
Yeah, I don't know if she's fine, but they do say she survived.
Okay, she survived. Sorry, you're right. You're right.
Yeah.
And then later we have a full-grown hunter. And he gets taken out by these little things. And like, I don't want to fight these compies, but a part of me is like, I can probably take 10 of these things out. Like, I'll get scratched, but I'm pretty sure I'll make it.
All right.
Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, it's
Will, how
like,
many could you take, do you think, in a fight?
Ooh, compies, okay.
Because 4 or more, I'm running.
I think so,
I'm not sitting around running, but like, once they grab me, I'm just like, all right, like, it's stop, drop, and roll time, guys. You're in a lake, just like, pushing you under rocks.
Chicken, just die.
Oh my goodness, that's so funny. Yeah. You're right. I mean, it's ludicrous. The setups for the each set piece is just crazier than the last. I feel like this movie is like exactly that. It's like everybody enjoyed the T-Rex in the first one. Let's have 2 or 3 T-Rexes in this one. They got to get out of this trailer before it falls. Let's have them climb up 2 or 3 times before they get out. This hunter is getting chased by compies. Let him jump on this guy 2 or 3 times before he goes down. They just like everything was just extended so long that I was just like bored of the scene by the time it ended. Even if it was like the trailer scene was a fun setup, and I really liked I can't remember his name, Eddie, I think. Who was like trying to help him and get the rope, and like he was like being this heroic dude, but like, you know, doing what he can and struggling, and that was fun. But it just was so long, and then he just gets torn apart at the end because the T-Rexes have to come back 2 or 3 times to finish the job. It was so ridiculous that it just took me out of the movie. I laughed hysterically, but it took me out of being like, why is this happening? Why? It doesn't even make sense anymore. It's just pure foolishness.
He got a vicious death for that too. Like it wasn't
he did.
Like he got ripped apart. Now, Brian, I'm pretty sure we talked in the past. You're a West Wing fan, correct?
Yes,
was
absolutely.
it weird for you to see Richard Schiff without a beard?
Because
it took me a second to clue into what was
without
going
a
on.
beard, but this was a completely different role for him.
Oh yeah,
and he did play it well. He played a little bit different character. I mean, he still has some of his mannerisms and stuff that's shown through. He was probably one of my favorite characters in this movie, and I think that's also why I didn't like him dying, because he was gone halfway through. And that sucked for me because I thought he did a great job. He's probably one of my favorite characters.
Yeah, I would agree with that, but I wasn't sure if it was just my love of the West Wing carrying me on. Like literally, my cat's name is Toby, so like,
oh yeah,
I'm a fan. So I wasn't sure if it was just that carrying it over, or if it was like, no, he actually really did play an interesting role. Like It was a smaller role, but I liked it.
Like, Vince Vaughn is a way bigger chicken wing for them to eat. They should have gone for him. I wouldn't have been upset about that at all.
Rope at the moment.
He was a completely forgettable character in this movie. He was all over the place. He had like a few opening lines about, I'm in it for the women and whatever. It really went nowhere for me. It didn't take me out. It was just this character was undeveloped, like most of the characters in this film.
Yeah. Then he's like the undercover Greenpeace-esque guy, but all he brings is like a freaking bolt cutter. Like, it's so bad. And then they go and invade the camp, and only like one lock on any of the dinosaur enclosures anyway, so he didn't even need the bolt cutters.
Well,
it was just
why
so
would you need
ridiculous.
Locks?
I know.
Like, who's gonna unlock those doors?
All of their equipment was destroyed in that raid. All of it, like they were helicoptering in car after car after tank after car, and then he lets loose like a triceratops, and all of their equipment is destroyed. They're like, well, we're going on foot for the rest of this movie.
What dinosaur launches the flaming Jeep?
Oh my goodness! Like
field away into the tree.
Hundreds of meters into the air.
What the heck was that thing?
I don't know.
Those camps were not close together. That just went flying. I'm like,
it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense.
Oh my goodness. Okay, another question that I think this episode is just going to be us roasting this movie.
I've got a few too.
I enjoyed this movie, so like my score is going to be higher than it is, but it's more fun to roast the parts that don't make sense than praise the things that do.
Sure.
Why can they clone millions of year old dinosaurs and do all these fantastical things, but they can't call anybody with a radio? Like, even the guys who have like the 9-foot satellite dish still can't get a phone call out.
Yeah.
Why is that technology eluding us, but we can clone things? I don't understand.
T-Mobile's map just doesn't extend to the island, I guess.
Yeah, I think Ian Malcolm is part of the problem there. He seems more incompetent in this movie.
But the other team,
he's super incompetent in this movie as well, which is why Vince Vaughn like takes over as the action hero in this movie. For most of the part, like, he's the one saving Julianne Moore's character. He's the one doing all the heroic things. And Malcolm's over here just asking himself questions and fumbling over his own words. It's really weird to me.
I'm actually okay with that because he's the Greenpeace guy. Like, he's been out in the wild and lived his life, whereas Malcolm is a scientist. Like, I'm kind of okay with him being a little bit less.
Sure. I guess the bigger problem is that... maybe this movie specifically, but maybe in all movies, you can't go full Jeff Goldblum. And this movie just kind of proves it.
Yeah.
Like, Ian Malcolm is like a super interesting character in the first one. He brings to light a lot of interesting questions of why they're doing this and should they do this. In this movie, he's just mumbling to himself and half-assedly trying to get his daughter off the island, but not really. He's just running around kind of aimlessly. It's really bad. It's really bad.
They ignore him half the time.
I like his character a lot more in the first one, to be fair. And he's more eccentric in the first one. But
100%.
It works for the character that he is in that movie, whereas in this one, he's almost like a Marvel character. Like, he's just there to like post quips every now and then, just like say his little funny one-liner.
He's not a leading character. Jeff Goldblum is a leading man, I think, but this is not a leading character. Ian Malcolm was never written to be a leading character, and this movie proves that point.
Okay, now I never read the books. Is this following the written tale of Jurassic Park?
He dies in the book.
Okay.
It's been a long time since I've read this one. I couldn't tell you 100%. I've read the first one more often.
I was wondering why they went with Ian Malcolm as the lead character instead of Dr. Grant. I believe in 3 we get back to Dr. Grant.
Correct.
It did seem strange. He's not a leading, like, it shouldn't be him, right?
I think
and
Jeff
that dynamic was hard for me to adjust to the first time I watched it, but knowing how this was going to be and coming into it prepared for that the second time around, I was just like, okay, I'm just sit back and enjoy this movie, and I did enjoy it. But you're right, this character was a weird choice for a lead.
Yeah.
I think from a Hollywood perspective, you got to realize that Independence Day came out, I want to say the year before, and Jurassic Park 2 years before that. So Jeff Goldblum had quite a little bit of a star mid-90s.
He had some momentum going for him.
Sam Neill didn't have as much. Like, he had Event Horizon coming out this year, but that was this year, right? Like,
and he played a terrible character.
It could have been conflict as well a little bit.
That's a fair point.
That, right?
For sure.
Because he was doing that other movie. So could be multiple reasons for Hollywood to choose that.
I would like to know when the boat makes landfall at the end.
Okay.
Yes.
How did the Tyrannosaurus bite off the captain's hand to where the captain's hand was still on the steering wheel?
Kill everybody.
Well,
and the Tyrannosaurus Rex was locked in the bottom. How?
when I was a kid, my theory on that, and this is wrong. I'm prefacing this is wrong. But when I was 15 or 16, or whenever this movie came out, I assumed it was the baby Tyrannosaurus that had gone around and killed people, because no way that massive Tyrannosaurus getting in. But it says very clearly in the movie, no, we flew the baby Tyrannosaurus in on plane.
Correct.
So it's just the Tyrannosaurus on the boat. So like, did something else get on the boat? Maybe, but they definitely don't say that.
You know
what?
what?
A raptor getting loose in San Francisco is actually more terrifying to me than a T-Rex.
So, cleaning agent, you were wondering how the Tyrannosaurus Rex got into the main area in the last movie.
Absolutely.
How did the Tyrannosaurus Rex get into the steerage of the ship? He's a crafty fellow.
I tell you, I don't know how, because obviously I know the answer. There was in the script, and they filmed, it was raptors that attack the boat when it's leaving with the T-Rex. I don't know how it's resolved. The raptors jump off and start an island somewhere else. I don't know. But that's how it happens in the script. But I don't know how they even got away with editing all that out, so that just this boat of dead bodies goes ramming into the docks, and everybody's like, yeah, it's fine. They're dead. As long as the T-Rex gets out, everybody's going to forget. Yeah. It's fine.
This feels like, okay, so again, the Tyrannosaurus paddock and stuff like that from the first one are mildly forgivable. In this one, this is shocking to me that Spielberg just like edited it out and moved on with his life. Like, this doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Even if they didn't put the hand on the steering wheel and it's just, where did the crew go? Okay, cool. That would make sense to me, that like they were all down below when he broke loose, or they jumped overboard or something. But showing that hand there makes it so definitive that he died in that room. That bugs me.
And we have another hand that was like holding the close button on the door.
But at least I assume the body was behind that rake, because that wasn't inside, that was outside. So like it can make sense if that body just fell funny. That one I can wrap my head around.
But,
it's
but
weird,
if the T-Rex is trapped in the cage underneath, how's the body like we've got multiple layers of bodies with missing hands that shouldn't exist.
Clearly the Tyrannosaurus was out of, sorry. None of this makes sense, but headcanon.
Are you
the Tyrannosaurus was loose for a while?
I'm thinking Spielberg was just like, man, this thing's gonna make so much money. Who cares? Let's just go.
So originally,
whatever, buddy.
I don't care.
It's dinosaurs. Count the money. Let's go.
I'm definitely editing that scene from Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back with Gus Van Sant. Like, so roll, Gus. He's like, I don't care, Ben.
So action, Gus, or
Jesus, Ben, I said I'm busy.
So originally, the ending of the movie was vastly different. The last act.
Yep.
Where they get into the helicopter, and the helicopter is then attacked by pterodons or some flying creature, and they had storyboards, they had mock-ups, and that's why at the end of the movie you see those pterodons and they look actually quite good. It's because they have them all rendered out and everything for that big sequence. And then Spielberg's like, you know what? I kind of want to just bring the T-Rex to the city. I think that'd be really cool. Let's put him on a boat. Let's get him there. And I think so from then on, he just didn't care. He just wanted the T-Rex at the city, no matter how it got there. Didn't matter. He just wanted it running around through the streets, causing mayhem and mischief. And so that's what he did. He really didn't give an F.
My understanding, and I truly apologize, I'm literally repeating something you just said.
No worries.
Was that was supposed to be something in the third movie, and then he was saving it for that, and then he was like, oh, I actually don't think I'm going to direct a third movie. So he put it in this one.
That's correct. There was talk of a third movie being a trilogy. He also, let's be honest, he forced the second book. He Crichton didn't even want to write the second book. And
I did not know.
Spielberg's like, dude, write the book so we have material for the movie. So he wrote the book, and then they didn't even take most of the book anyway. They went a fully different direction with it. So the whole
thank you for writing the title and moved on.
Exactly. It's such a weird happenstance, and it's super funny.
Yeah, I don't know. Like the whole thing was just weird. Fun. Like I'll admit, the T-Rex running around San Francisco was fun. Stupid but fun. I did enjoy it.
The chase scenes with all the vehicles that extend the little seat out for the gunner and stuff. That was
a toy.
That was stupid. They were marketing toys to kids, and I was buying. They were cool. There were a lot of fun sequences in the movie, and it was just entertaining, but none of it made sense. A lot of times they had some really interesting dialogue in there. I mentioned the one about Malcolm saying they cut you from the gymnastics team. They do that a bunch in the movie where this plot sucks or this character's undeveloped, and they have lines that these characters deliver that let you know, we know what we're doing here. It's fine. We're just gonna carry on. I think probably the one character that actually had an arc was the hunter, right?
Mhm.
He went there to hunt the dinosaur, and in the end, he says, I've spent enough time in the presence of death. And is he talking about InGen? Is he talking about the dinosaurs or what? I don't know. But he's come to terms with the fact that he doesn't need to go kill anything. He's lived his life, and he's going to go, I don't know,
I think
live in a cabin on the woods or something.
Correct me if I'm wrong here. I think I can't think of the character name, Peter Stormare or whatever that character's name is.
Yeah,
I think that was his partner.
Peter.
And when he died, he lost his taste for it because he is very upset that guy died. And I think when they bagged the T-Rex, he looks up, like, "What's wrong?" He's like, "Oh, he didn't make it."
He didn't make it.
And then
yeah.
he's like, I've lost a taste for death," and he's moved on. So I think he really does have an arc. Like, I think he grows in this movie. Like,
Only
he spent his
character in the
life
movie that does
hunting.
that.
Sure, for sure. But he spends his life hunting big game. This is the biggest game possible, but he lost his love to do it, and he's just out.
Yeah.
And I was okay with that. I was okay that we didn't see him in San Francisco.
I thought
and
it
to
was
the best of my knowledge,
actually
we don't see him in the rest of the franchise.
some of the better writing in the film, honestly. And his little monologue when he pops off to the guy about, you hired me to do this, shut up and let me do it. That monologue was really cool too.
I think the only negative thing I have to say about that hunter is at the beginning when they're like first hunting down some of the dinosaurs, and he's got his little like booklet with the dinosaur names and descriptions, and he didn't bother to learn anything about these creatures that he's hunting. Like,
that was a little weird.
Most likely the most dangerous animals he'll ever come across, and he didn't bother to do any research before he came on the island. That was the only thing that bothered me about the character. And
he was so clearly there for the T-Rex.
For
Like,
sure.
that's the only thing he cared about.
He's
I agree with you. I do agree with
a
you.
professional. Like, he's hunted everything. It's just like you would know everything inside and out if that's what you're going to do. But that was for comedy. Again, it was all for comedy, but it just was like so bad.
Yeah. The bald one, Friar Tuck on the left.
Yeah. The Pompadour, the Elvis. Get him.
You are not supposed to be thinking about anything during
I
that scene
know.
other than how much your kid wants that toy.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, I have one more. This is just a curiosity thing, because maybe I'm wrong on this one. I don't mean to be super nitpicky. This is going to be a small one. But just legitimately, when they're in the double trailer thing and it's getting pushed off the edge, right? As soon as the first trailer goes off, the back door flies wide open and falls away.
Yeah.
And then she falls onto a gigantic trailer-sized pane of glass.
I know. I thought that
What
exact
was
thing.
that? Because like every other time I've watched this, I'm like, oh man, I hope that doesn't break. And this time I'm like, what? Why would you have a door that you can't access? And what? Like, I could not wrap my head around why that glass is there. Is there any like anybody in the chat? Is there any logic to that other than just here's more tension?
Toy haulers have a drop down door on the back. That's it. And that's what that was. A big open door that comes out. There should be no pane of glass there.
Okay, cool. I wanted to make sure I wasn't just crazy on that one. It's not a big moment. Like, I didn't want to harp on it. It was just one of those like, what?
I
How
thought
did
the
I never
same
think of this
thing.
before?
And I was like, do I go back and watch that to see exactly what that was like? And I did not. I was like, nope, not worth it.
I did. I rewound it just to make sure that I did see the door fall off. And I'm like, yeah, no, that entire door is gone. Like, we've harped pretty hard on this movie. It kind of deserves part of it. What about some of the things you did like? I think the music in this one, much like the first one, was really, really well done. I was a little sad it didn't really add very much to the original. Like, it was basically that kid who did the homework, like stole the homework and tried to make it its own, but it didn't really add anything to it. It was just kind of like, yeah, we're John Williams. Like, it's still fantastic. There's nothing in this movie that I can point to being that's the Lost World soundtrack versus that's the Jurassic Park soundtrack.
I didn't like the music to this one. I felt they did the same thing to the music that they did to the whole movie, which was take the same stuff, turn the volume up on it. And it was too much. It took me out. It was over the top. They should have either done the exact same music or subtle differences, but even bring it down a bit, because it's such an iconic sound. When you hear it, you know you're hearing it. So you don't need to turn the volume up on this like they did. There were some points when it was just so overbearingly loud. I'm like, we get it. It's Jurassic Park. I saw the poster. Like, I didn't need it so in my face. So the music was a point where I was like, no, this is pushing it for me.
What about the look of the film? I know it's not as good as the original. I don't think it was quite as good as the original, but it's still very good for the time that it was made. Most of it, at least.
I think so. I think they did use more CGI, but I feel like it wasn't horribly overused. Again, in this one, they still used some animatronics. I think the baby T-Rex looked decent, but because they carried it so much, it kind of felt a little stiff in their arms. Like it was like, I think a real animal would squirm even if they're hurt and tired.
It moved slow, right? Like
it moved a little slow.
Waiting for it to wiggle.
It looked good, but its movement was a little stiff. And if they weren't carrying it so long for so many sequences, almost half the movie they're running around with this thing, it felt like beginning, middle, and end. There's things everywhere.
They mentioned in the first movie that they clock a T-Rex doing 34 kilometers an hour, 33 kilometers an hour. And then this entire movie, they're outrunning a T-Rex everywhere they go. And I'm
especially
just like,
okay. at the end, when they drive through the warehouse and she's like, where's the T-Rex? Right behind them. Cut to them going on the boat. You don't see or hear the T-Rex until it eats that dude. I'm like, that's how it got on the boat and killed everybody without
stealth
nobody. It's just stealth mode. It's like the Predator. It just goes invisible. I just couldn't believe the gaps in logic in this movie are incredible.
Well, and like in the riverbed, they're running away from the T-Rex through water on rocks. Like none of them are going top speed for a human, which is, I don't even know what, but I'm guessing like 12 kilometers an hour. I don't know. Probably way less than that even. And they're outrunning a T-Rex en masse. It's not even like the outrunning a bear principle, right? Like you only have to outrun your friend because one person falls and the T-Rex just stomps him and keeps going anyway. So it's not like, oh, thank you for your sacrifice, Carlos. They're just
that's all you were supposed to focus on. This guy getting squished over and over again. That was the fun.
Yeah, he's carried 3 steps, man. That was
nothing
cool.
else matters.
As a kid, I did think that was cool.
Yeah, hilarious.
I don't want to just harp on, but there's so many things where I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. That doesn't make like, if you're in a jungle filled with dinosaurs, are you using headphones when you're on break? I wouldn't be. Let's distract myself from the potential killers that have ruined half of my, crew. Like, okay.
Yeah.
Sure. It progresses the plot. Fine,
it does,
whatever.
Indeed. I feel like the music wasn't bad. The soundscape and the Foley was pretty good in the movie. There was lots of fun dinosaur sounds in this one, additional to the previous because of the different types of animals we saw. Again, the music I feel runs right. They kind of doubled down. It wasn't the worst because it still felt Jurassic Parky to me.
Yeah.
The CGI and animatronics were decent. But again, it's like that you can't carry the movie on that. I mean, they did. They made bank. Obviously, they made bank.
They made good money.
Absolutely. So they did carry the movie on that, but it doesn't set you up for a great movie, unfortunately.
I think the CGI was a notch better than the original myself. I go back because I watched the 2 movies right in a row, and I noticed the first movie, I look at it and I go, okay, I see that's CGI, and I can tell that we've progressed our ability much since this was made.
Yeah.
In the next movie, I don't remember noticing that. I just saw it as pretty clean. It looked pretty good. And so maybe they had a little bit better skill at doing it. I mean, I still know it when it's CG and when it's animatronic and whatever. I think, like Will said, they did a pretty good job of using it when it was necessary and going with animatronic when they could. And so I thought it was okay. But the problems with the plot and where they land and how things progress and stuff makes this movie not hold up as well. As far as the look of it holds up better than the original. But the direction and the plot and the writing doesn't hold up and makes this movie kind of fall apart much, much worse than the original.
Oh, absolutely. I had fun with this movie. I still like it. It's not the original. It's not even close. It misses all the magic of the original. As we said before, like the first one is such an incredible experience. Like you said, like we both watched when we were quite young, Run probably will as well. You leave the theater thinking like cloning dinosaurs is possible. You don't leave the theater thinking, man, that was a lot of blood. In this movie, you get away from all that. Even like the very first time you see a dinosaur, when they first see the Stegosauruses, even that turns into a fight scene, right? Like none of it is just like, wow, this is so cool. Everything has to be dinosaurs attacking people.
Everything's dangerous, yeah.
I guess technically they see the compies first, but the actual main crew.
They have a lot of kills in this, like some weird unnecessary kills. Like the T-Rex eats a dude when he's running down the street, like a graphic, like eats him. And I was like, that guy he wasn't good or bad. Like, why did we just kill a rando there?
No. Let me correct you there, Run 7. You mean the guy running into the blockbuster?
Yes.
That's the writer of the film. That's why he died, because he did a bad job.
Oh, really? I didn't know that. I thought that was like a Ghostbusters homage. Like, that reminded me of the dog eating the guy on the glass window. You know?
That's funny. Yeah. Well, maybe it is, but that was the writer of the movie.
Not
really? He wrote himself in as a
other
death,
guy.
huh?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I'm sure they had the death in there, and they're like, "Hey, you want to do a cameo?" David Cope or whatever his name is. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So there
I
was
do
a
agree,
reason
though.
for him to die, because he did a terrible script.
Well, and the reason you bring in like an army of people is so you can watch an army of people get eaten.
Exactly.
Like you knew what you were getting into as soon as you saw that many people. Like, all right, there's gonna be like 6 survivors, so we got to whittle this down a little bit.
Yeah, my kids had to turn their head in number 2. They like with the compy attack when the guy jumps over the log and the blood's coming out from underneath it. They were like, "Is it over? Is it over?" I'm like, "Well, you can't see anything anyways."
Kids.
But I mean, them biting him up to that point.
Fair. I think the lip was more
thinking-
graphic than I remembered.
And yeah, it was. And then they tore my favorite actor in half, and there was a lot that kind of happened in this one, and I just recognized that my kids who just watched the first one without any issues watched this one, and they were kind of a little freaked.
It is a different vibe, right?
Yeah.
It's darker tone.
It's much more
throughout.
dangerous. Yes, darker,
Dangerous.
all the time.
Yeah.
Well-
they doubled down on all of the aggressiveness from the first one.
Yeah, and they even like they attack a small child. Like the first thing you see is this like
exactly.
7-year-old girl getting attacked.
Yeah. No one is
'cause
safe.
The first one had what, 5 deaths total? This one's got to have at least 30. Like not necessarily all on
gotta be up
screen,
there.
but just by looking at the people and knowing like, okay, you don't all make it. So
That boat alone probably had 10 people on it.
right. The dog dies at the end. Like, oh, it's just everybody. Nobody's safe.
Nobody's safe. Yeah.
I'm ripping it apart, but like it's not one that I'm going to revisit often. But I watched it. I had to watch it over the course of a couple of days because it's just the way my schedule worked. I was never bored. Like I wasn't really looking at my phone or anything. And I've seen this movie a lot. Like I watched it in theaters. I saw it. Like I owned it on VHS back in the day. Like I've seen this movie quite a bit. I still sat down and enjoyed it. And like I haven't seen it in a while, so some of the scenes I'd totally forgotten about, like the Tyrannosaurus and the tent scene. I was like, oh yeah, I totally forgot this happened. It's
More bad
fun.
writing and bad characters.
It's stupid, but it's fun.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah,
It is.
they knew exactly what we were coming for. They didn't bother wasting their time on anything else. They said, hey, let's just make some really fun sequences. Maybe like Will said, they kind of went a little long. How many times do you got to fall down that rope before you're finally going to get it right? Like just get there. Yeah, I was never bored. I was entertained all the way through. It was exciting. I didn't care about all this stuff. And I actually appreciated that when so often I would see this, most of the time, I would see this blatantly weird thing, they would have mention of it in the dialogue. The characters would come back around and say something about it to point out that this doesn't make any sense and we don't care. And a lot of times there was some stuff that they needed to like explain, like why would the Tyrannosaurus Rexes keep coming back to the car? She has this little speech she gives, just blurts it out in this like caffeinated rant, getting out that, yeah, they're parental and they're going to come back for their kid, right? Let's just get this out there as fast as we can. And then we're going to get back to the action sequence. So it was fun. It didn't need any of that other stuff. I got that from Jurassic Park 1. I wanted to see dinosaurs. I got to see dinosaurs.
I agree and disagree. I mean, I do enjoy that we got more dinosaurs, but I wouldn't have hated there being a plot that went all the way through the movie and made sense. Like that would have been okay with me. Not just we're gonna get to the island and then we're gonna get off the island. That's literally all it was.
5
the Fury
more
Road of
attempts for the
Jurassic
plot.
Park.
So let's see what happens in upcoming episodes of our rating.
So I've only seen everything out from here on out. I've only seen once or not at all. So these are the only 2 that I've seen multiple times. So I actually legitimately am curious to rewatch 3 World and Lost Kingdom, I think it is.
I don't remember anything from here. Like I don't remember what 3 is about. I remember that World has a bigger theme park and like some fish dinosaurs, and there's like a predator dinosaur that goes invisible or something. I don't remember. I don't. So it's going to be basically fresh turf for me to walk on, and I'm looking forward to it. I think I have a guess that they're all going to be pretty trash, but maybe fun.
I remember literally one thing from Lost Kingdom, and that is Forgotten Kingdom. I don't know, whatever that one's called. Is the raptor is essentially like a Freddy Krueger. Like the little girl's hiding in her bed, and the raptor's like reaching up to like take her bedcloth like off of her instead of just like pouncing on the bed. I'm like, what is happening right now? Like,
Nice.
okay,
Amazing.
cool. It's gonna be an
Amazing.
interesting rewatch.
I'm looking forward to it. Hopefully they're fun and we can sit through them. If they're ludicrous enough, I'll watch anything. If it's just bad and boring, that's going to be something else. But it's dinosaurs, so it can't be boring,
It
right?
can only be so boring, right? And like,
Yeah.
I don't know. They
Yeah.
always seem to bring in decent cast members that I like. So
Don't they have a
Yeah.
hamster bubble they ride around in? I'm looking
They
forward
sure
to
do.
that.
that's Jurassic
Yeah.
World. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. You want to get to some ratings? Because I don't have anything else to go over. We're bashing this thing on the head.
Yeah,
Which is
rate
funny
this.
because I think this is probably one of the better ones that we're going to watch in the next couple of weeks. So it's like, ooh,
is
it's
it?
all downhill
Okay.
from here.
Ooh.
Maybe we'll find something. We might find
all right.
nuggets.
Ryan, why don't you go first? You were the one that said you did have fun
Okay,
with
so
this one.
my original score before talking it out with you guys was a 61, and that didn't fluctuate at all. I think we're all in agreement on this. You guys gave me clarity, and I feel good about what I put down. The plot in this movie is non-existent. It's atrocious, and it's full of holes, if there is any to be found anywhere at all. However, like I said, they did have some decent aspects of writing where they kind of give a nod to the audience and just let us know that they know they're kind of jerking around on this one. I thought the acting was good enough. It wasn't amazing, but they weren't given characters to develop or for you to get attached to. The one character I did get attached to got detached from his upper half halfway through the film. And so, I didn't care. I mean, honestly, when the little girl in the movie is impressing me, she's paired with some trash to make her look good. So the acting wasn't great, but it didn't take me out of it. We're here for the dinosaurs, right? The direction, I don't know. I think they were just counting money the whole time. I thought the special effects were just a notch under its predecessor in that they used more CG and not enough animatronics. When they did use the animatronics, they looked stiff. And so that but otherwise, still really good, great for its time. And I never, like, the moments when I noticed that this is an animatronic dinosaur was never during an exciting action sequence, probably because they use CGI during most of those. But when it took me out, it was usually during a slow spot when I was looking for flaws. And that's when I found them. The music I did not appreciate. It was way over the top. They needed to dial that back down 3 or 4 points. Overall, it was fun. I enjoyed watching it. I had a good time with my kids. And they're looking forward to the next movie. And that's what you want in a movie, is to be entertained, right? So all these things really brought it down, but such a high fun score for just being an entertaining film and really kind of nailing the entertainment value of those sequences. It's going to come in at a 61 for me.
Sounds good. Will, you want to go next?
Sure. I'm going to be short and to the point. I agree a lot with what Brian said. I'm just going to read something here that Steven Spielberg said in an interview in 2016 with the New York Times. My sequels aren't as good as my originals because I go on to every sequel I've made and I'm too confident. This movie made $1 gazillion, which justifies the sequel. So I come in like it's going to be a slam dunk. And I wind up making an inferior movie to the one before. I'm talking about The Lost World and Jurassic Park. Pretty much sums it up for me. This movie's a 64 out of 100 for me. I feel like it does fit the genre pretty well. It does hold up as far as like entertainment and the CGI and the animatronics. It's still a fun dinosaur movie, but the script is horrendous. And you just have to forget that if you want to enjoy this popcorn movie.
Very nice. Okay. So at the beginning of the movie, Malcolm goes to see Dr. Hammond, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he's talking to him in his chamber, and he's like, well, I want to send a team of 4 people, and I've already got your girlfriend there and 2 others, and I need you. And Malcolm talks about how awful that is and whatnot. And Malcolm's like, all right, well, I'm going to go and I'm going to turn this into a rescue mission. He leaves. And Hammond goes, oh, that's okay.
Amazing.
Oh, like he has to sit there and count to 4 and figure it out on his hand. Like,
it was so dumb.
an eccentric billionaire can't count to 4. Like, it's just like, okay.
And I love
that was entirely for the audience to be like, oh, wait, he got what he wanted. Yeah, good for him. It's like, oh, wow, they think we're stupid. Okay, cool.
Yeah, really set the pace for this movie.
Absolutely.
Well, I mean,
Okay.
honestly, if we're gonna let all this stuff slide, they might think we are that dumb.
I know. That's the sad part.
All right, so similar to last week, my score is coming in a little higher than these guys, albeit it was even higher before we started having this conversation and just talking our way through everything that doesn't make sense and just laughing about it. It was kind of like, even parts that I did kind of enjoy, these guys pointed out like just how incredibly ridiculous they are. And it's like, I knew it was dumb, but I was having fun with it. But then talking about how incredibly dumb it is, like, oh yeah, like just processing it out loud, I guess. So I still find this movie fun. This is one that I could see myself watching again, which is not something I'm likely to say about Jurassic Park 3 or maybe other ones after that. I saw Jurassic Park 3 in theaters, never went back to it. Don't imagine I'm going to after this. I can see myself watching this movie again at some point. It is popcorn movie, right? Like it's the kind of thing you just turn your brain off and you just enjoy watching dinosaurs go to town. As far as the music goes, I didn't have the problem Brian had with it. I thought it was still actually really well done. It just didn't add anything. It just kind of took notes from the first one and just kind of did the same thing. As far as the look of the movie goes, I think the animatronics were a little bit worse, but the CGI was a little bit better. So overall, I think it did look pretty much kind of on par with the first movie. The acting, I didn't necessarily have a problem with, but the writing in this was atrocious. So I think that's where a good chunk of the problem is, because like I know Jeff Goldblum's a decent actor. I know Richard Schiff is a good actor. I don't mind Vince Vaughn. I know Julianne Moore is a good actor. Pete Postlewaite's great. Like, it's got a good cast. They just have the dumbest lines possible to say and do. Like, the raptor scene, the raptors in the first movie would have murdered all of them in seconds. And in this one, it's like a Benny Hanna sketch where they're like jumping through windows and closing off doors. And like, it was just so silly. And you just have to just ignore everything you know. Even the way the raptors hunt is different than they said it would be in the first one. They explained very accurately how the raptors hunt in the first movie. And in this one, they just chase people. It was frustrating. The San Diego, thank you, Windstorm, scene was fun. Really stupid, but it was fun. It was kind of cool to see a Tyrannosaurus in the real world. Sue me. It took me back to when I was a kid. I enjoyed it. So overall, I gave this movie a little bit higher than the other guys did. I went with a full 77 on it. I liked it. I don't love it. It's got some massive holes, but I like it. Which means if we're looking at our overall scores, this can all get edited in post. Look at me giving myself work to do later.
Means I can do anything right now. Just shake my rogue energy however I want.
Totaling up these guys' scores and my own, I'm still coming in pretty high on this one. I did drop from 100 after the first movie to an 89. And Brian and Will kind of met in the middle there, both sitting at a 74, bringing this movie down to an 80. This franchise so far down to an 80. Now, I have to assume this franchise is only going to go lower and lower. Do you think this franchise, when it's done, is going to be in like Gremlins territory? Is going to be lower than that? Like, again, I've only seen the next ones once or not at all. How low do you think it's going to go? Or do you think it has a bar of like, it's dumb, but it's fun and, you know, it's fine living in like that 60 range?
We're a bunch of dino-loving man-children. I think the fun factor is going to keep this afloat a bit, but I know that as movie critics, we're going to rip these next ones apart also. So, yeah, it could probably come down there at Gremlins level. I do think it could get under 60, under 65.
Yeah, I think because the first one's such a gem of a movie, I just don't think it'll dip that low. I'd guess closer to like a Predator range.
Okay, I could live with this being in the Predator range by the time it's all said and done. All right, and that has been our rating of Jurassic Park: The Lost World. What do you guys think? Were you way too harsh on this one? Did you enjoy us ripping it apart? Are you looking forward to us talking about Jurassic Park 3 next week? Leave a comment down below letting me know what you thought about this movie, what you thought about this review. If you enjoyed it, hit the like button. You made it this far in the video, you must have enjoyed it. And hit subscribe if you want more great content like this going forward. We record this live over at twitch.tv/The Mongoolie Show, so head over there and hit the follow button so you can hang out with us live on Thursday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time while we're recording this. You guys have a great night, and we'll catch you next time. Later, everybody.
Just shake my rogue energy however I want.
Please
yes, you
leave that
can.
in.